Tonight, history in the making, as the first Hijabi footballer in the Women's World Cup scores for diversity and acceptance, and hate graffiti on an advertisement in Toronto's inclusivity campaign. And later in the show, something special from our archives on how Dr Tajbaksh reached for her dreams and became an astronomer.
I decided that I am going to pursue at least something that I enjoy a little bit better. And at the time, computer science was very popular.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I am Saamiyah Syed. Moroccan football player Nouhaila Benzina has made history as the first to wear hijab in a World Cup game. Her appearance during the game with hijab is a significant moment for hijab-wearing women. They are viewing this moment as a clear indication that their hijab is not a barrier to playing at the highest level. Muslim women in grassroots football hope this will inspire the next generation of hijabi football stars and promote inclusive clothing policies in clubs. Yasmin Hussain, head coach of Brentford and MSA, a women's team in London with ties to the Muslim community, believes an English player wearing a hijab may soon be a reality. Efforts by the Football Association to make women's football more inclusive, such as distributing free sports hijabs, have contributed to this positive change. Football is becoming more popular and accessible for Muslim women in the UK, unlike in France, where headscarves are banned in official matches. Players like Fatima Zahra Sardar feel more represented and inspired, while Mona Sheikh credits inclusive facilities for making her feel more comfortable playing in her hijab. Both players hope that Benzina's presence will open doors for more young girls to pursue professional football careers. Kamil El Sheikh, an Ottawa businessman and Muslim activist, is planning a million-person march scheduled for September 20th. The protest aims to oppose Pride Month and what he calls gender ideology in schools, with the goal of uniting a million Canadians of all faiths from coast to coast. El Sheikh, previously lesser known in the media, has become a prominent protest organizer, rallying Muslims and Christians in Ottawa against teaching children they can change their gender without parental consent and the use of explicit material in sex education. He hopes that the march will inspire Canadians to join in defense of children's innocence and family values. El Sheikh is raising concerns about LGBTQ ideology being preached to children, including Muslim children sharing school pamphlets targeting them. He criticizes Trudeau's suggestion that Muslim protesters are pawns of the American right wing, considering it an insult to Muslims' intelligence and faith. El Sheikh referred to Trudeau as an actor rather than a true leader. El Sheikh's Twitter account was suspended after a complaint alleging he violated the hateful conduct rule. A Scarborough, Ontario resident named Donald Parker is expressing discovering a swastika painted on a bus shelter near his home. The offensive symbol was spray painted over a Toronto for All advertisement that promotes inclusivity and acceptance. The advertisement is part of the City of Toronto's Toronto for All campaign. It features a Black woman in hijab. The text urges Torontonians to accept her. Parker, who has lived in the area for over 40 years, is expressing his disgust. He is calling for the immediate removal of the graffiti and suggested having patrols to prevent further incidents of vandalism. The TTC calls the incident unacceptable and has pledged full support to Toronto police if an investigation is launched. A crew has been sent to clean the graffiti off. Despite the incident, as of Tuesday night, Toronto police had not yet initiated an investigation. To hear more about Dr Tajbaksh's story, stay tuned and we'll be right back. I would now like to welcome Dr. Tajbaksh, an astronomy professor who teaches at the University of Toronto, Mississauga, and York University, amongst many others, to come and share her story with us today. Welcome, Dr. Tajbaksh, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Doctor, you started out with an engineering degree, but then you wanted to shift to computer science for your early graduate studies. What brought on that shift?
Actually, I started with engineering simply because that was part of the culture. So, as a high school student, I was always really good in mathematics and physics. And obviously, the choice for me in university should have been an engineering because people should either become an engineer or a doctor, especially, in Middle Eastern cultures. So I started out in engineering, and I mean, that was the end of it for me. Not the beginning, because I really did not enjoy engineering at all. It killed that passion that I had for physics, for mathematics, and I mean, as a teenager, I did read about astronomy a lot, so it killed all that passion for me. So I decided when I moved to Canada, I decided that I am going to pursue at least something that I enjoy a little bit better. And at the time, computer science was very popular. So I said to myself, okay, if I'm looking for a better job prospect, maybe I can move from industrial engineering that I had studied to computer science.
That's quite a dramatic shift there in some cases. How would you describe that transition to computer science for graduate school?
It was just more about job prospects, not liking of it. So I knew when I went there that this is not going to necessarily make me happy, but it was more like, okay, so even because I did study engineering, let me go to computer science. I'll have a better background and probably better job prospects. So that was my decision, just looking at the job market and what was required, and I went for it. But I'm so happy that it did not work out.
And was that transition an easy one?
No, it was not, but I was at least excited about the fact that, okay, I am sort of, getting further from the applied world of engineering, industrial engineering. There was no physics in it for me, and there was mathematics, but not the type that I enjoyed doing. So I thought, at least with computer science, if I'm not enjoying every moment of it, I am going to enjoy a better job prospect. And I decided to apply for it.
Now, in a blog entry that you wrote online, you mentioned that you actually had to go back to school to take a few courses before you qualified, which makes for a longer process. So are you saying that for you, it was okay to go back to school for a few years and then pursue what you loved most?
Yes, it was okay for me. Well, maybe I should clarify something. So I went to apply for computer science when I came to Canada, and the thing was that I went to the department and they looked at my marks, and in a glance, the chair of the department said, okay, with these marks, I cannot let you go to graduate school. Maybe you can do a few years of undergraduate work here, repeat some courses, and if your marks are high enough, then you'll qualify to apply. And I mean, he was right. Like I literally stopped studying when I entered university because I hated the field that I was in. So I just did enough to pass the courses. And then that day I came out and I thought to myself, okay, so if I am to study something and not enjoy it and start from undergraduate, at least let me do something that I like, because forget about job prospects, I'm going to be miserable still. So I said to myself, I'm going to go try astronomy, which I always liked, and talk to the chair of the Department of Astronomy and see if he has the same opinion. And if I am to repeat something instead of computer science, at least let it be something that I truly enjoy and I learn new things about. So I went back to the Department of Astronomy and they told me the same thing. And I said, okay, I don't mind that. I love doing this thing. I think I wasted 4 years of my life. So let me go back And I mean, it was a very risky move because there was no guarantee that at the end of the courses, finishing up the courses that they assigned to me, I would be accepted. And I would not even end up with a bachelor's degree either. It was just a bunch of courses they wanted me to repeat and then apply for graduate school. So it was a risky move. But I mean, I was so frustrated with the situation that I was and so badly wanted to do the thing that I really enjoyed that I said,
It
okay,
looks like it paid off then,
exactly,
especially for
exactly.
personal happiness. You know, in the same blog that you wrote, you were mentioning that you struggled to balance both motherhood and research. Can you share more about that struggle that you had?
Of course. So this came about after I entered graduate school. So by the end of the time that I finished all the courses they assigned, I applied to graduate school in astronomy and I got accepted to multiple places, and U of T was one of them. So I decided to go for University of Toronto. And then I finished my PhD. And just before defending my thesis, I was blessed to have my son. And then I went for a postdoctoral fellowship. And then I realized, okay, it is really, really difficult to balance motherhood and research, at least for me. Like, people are different, they approach things differently, but I could not balance it. So I decided that, okay, I'm going to leave my fellowship and I'm going to think about it later until this kid grows up. So that move gave me some time to, reflect upon the things that had happened to me, upon what I had studied, what I had learned, and when I was. And then I realized that I may be best suited to do more work in the field of science and religion. So again, when my son was almost 4, I decided to go back for another graduate degree, but this time in history and philosophy of science. And that really sealed my fate because I came across a field that sort of really nicely connected my background in astronomy and what I was trying to do, science and religion. And that was the field of the extraterrestrial life debate, whether life exists elsewhere in the universe or not, and what implications a discovery of life elsewhere in the universe would
So
have.
definitely an interesting topic. You know, I know for some people, going back to school is a very challenging prospect, especially when it seems like you're taking a few steps back to achieve your future steps forward. How
That's
was
right.
that transition for you?
It took 2 years, and it was the toughest 2 year of my life. Honestly, I was so sleep deprived because it was not just me deciding when I'm going to work and when I'm going to sleep and when I'm going to eat. It was a whole family that I was looking after, and it was my son who decided what my schedule should be like. So I remember being anywhere, sitting anywhere and working. I mean, it could be, I don't know, a birthday party, or it could be a soccer field, or it could be, I mean, in front of the school in the car. So I learned to sort of use every single minute of my life in order to be efficient, because at least for me, it was very difficult to
So
be
we don't have too
a
much
mother
time
sister.
now, but I'm wondering, for some of the people who are working through some of the same decisions you had to make, what advice would you give to them as they think about their futures?
I think just look at the big picture. Don't get lost with the difficulties and hardships that they're facing. Just look at your goal, what your ultimate goal is, and believe it. And think of the fact that this is temporary. It is going to pass, but what I'm going to be is left with is definitely worth all the hardships and difficulties that you're going through. It is difficult, but it is not impossible.
Well, thank you so much, Doctor, for coming on and sharing your personal story and challenges and how
No
we
problem.
can learn from it and overcome our own. Thank you so
No
much.
problem at all. Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
You are watching the Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. That's it from our Toronto studios tonight. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more Canadian Muslim content. Stay safe, and until next time.